Bob, can you hear us? Are you muted?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I can hear you clear.
Yeah, I've got you clear. Thank you.
Good. How are you doing? How's Betsy doing?
Choose her.
What does she do when she gets high? Is that when you take that
Gives herself an
insulin and then when it gets low, that's when you take this? So
And I can go.
what is it? Yeah. Why though? It's just a curiosity. Are they just like as opposed to like,
It's just what she
uh,
She likes.
We'll take, be sure you take those tape off and it says remove this first.
I think we're all ready.
Sorry.
I'd like to welcome you and call the meeting of the Highlands Town Board of Commissioners for May 2023 to order. And our first item, as always, will be a moment of silence. Will you join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Now, if we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As always, item 3 is our statement of conflict of interest. Called my attention, I called to the board of members of the statement. If anyone has a conflict, they should always let us know. The next item, number 4, would be the public comment period. At this time, if anyone would like to come forward and make a public comment, I'd appreciate you stating your name for the record and keeping your comments within 3 minutes or so. So I'm going to open up the floor for public comment. All right, hearing none, let's move on to the next item, and that's to review and approve the agenda. And I know, Mr. Ward, you have a last minute addition to the agenda.
Yes, if we could please add as, right after the budget amendments, number 16, Poplar Street Waterline Replacement Resolution.
Okay. All right, and we all have copies of that resolution that has been generated. Okay. Any other changes or additions to the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you, it's unanimous. Appreciate that. The next item would be the approval of the minutes, first of which would be the April 13th special meeting minutes. Do we have any changes or corrections to those minutes?
Move they be approved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. The next would be the April 13th special meeting minutes. Do we have any changes to those minutes?
Move they be approved as presented.
Second.
That was the budget meeting.
Correct. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then the approval of the April 13th special meeting minutes, page 11. Do we have any changes to those minutes?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you. And then finally, the approval of the April 20th regular meeting minutes, pages 12 through 40. Do we have any changes or additions to those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I know Commissioner Dotson, you were not at that meeting, so you did not vote. Okay, thank you. The next item would be the report, starting with the mayor's report. So let me go over several items, things that we've been doing and I've been doing during the time since our last meeting. First of all, I want to say that Congressman Edwards brought in his staff to the Founders Park this morning. They parked a van and there were a number of people that were there to talk issues with the staff of the congressman and ask for assistance on certain issues that they might be having. I think that was a good program. I appreciate the congressman doing that. And I talked with Lake Silver, his assistant, and they plan on doing that periodically for the benefit of our residents. So I appreciate that. The other thing I've been doing, I've, of course, have been, as many of you have been doing, tracking some of the bills that are in the legislature, especially Senate Bill 667 concerning SDRs, and then the other one, House Bill 409, accessory dwelling units. Been talking with the folks at the League of Municipalities and with Senator Corbin. One of the things I've asked that they consider in the accessory dwelling units legislation is to prohibit the use of short-term rentals. The intent of that legislation is to improve the availability of workforce housing within communities. And I think that if you don't have those kind of provisions there, you'll see just the proliferation of the use of short-term rentals. And the senators was open to what I was saying, and the league also has those concerns, and I think there might be some amendments with that legislation. Other thing I noticed is that we still have the issue of trucks on the Gorge Road, and I'm going to be real frank. One continual offender are the folks that operate the Dollar General trucks. They think that they don't have to not comply with the prohibition of 30-foot trailers, and they continue to get stopped, and they continue to create problems, as do several other trucking companies. Our Representative Senator Gillespie has been working on this issue. We've tried to address it with flashing lights and a regulation to make the length of the trailers to 30 feet and no longer. I'm hoping that Senator Gillespie, some of the actions that he'll take will really improve that situation, and we'll keep you posted on that. But I appreciate his efforts in trying to address that issue. A couple of other things. One of the things we'll of course be having our open house and dedication of the firehouse tomorrow at 4 p.m., starting with the dedication and having open house all the way to 6 o'clock. Encourage people who will be attending that to park at other locations and walk to the firehouse, since parking will be limited. Also, wanted to give you an update on, we had a wonderful scholarship program. Rebecca Schuler, our financial director, and I had the honor of distributing or awarding the scholarships for the town of Highlands at the Honors Day on Monday at the school. It's always wonderful to see the graduating seniors receive so much support, not just from the town of Highlands Scholarship Program, but so many organizations that provide scholarships to our graduates. So that's very important. Wanted to also follow up. I wasn't going to say anything, but I feel that I must. This board passed a resolution last month requesting that the County Board of Commissioners reinstate the LS3P contract for the design phase of the proposed improvements at the Highland School, which would include, of course, the pre-K rooms, additional classrooms, and in improving the media center, i.e. the library. Those are needed improvements, and I hope that the County Board of Commissioners, as they finalize their budget, will respond and reinstate that contract, because if that is not done, then it is at least a year or longer delay that would occur, because those architects would have to kind of restart the process. And then I wanted to say one other thing. I was talking to a young family person yesterday, and it was really touting the Highland School and our scholarship program. And the person responded that he has small children there. He really likes the school, but he's been keeping track of what's going on with this struggle to get these contract renewed and moving forward with these improvements at the school. And it like so many young families here, he was very concerned that his child, by going to the school here instead of going to other schools, will miss out on certain opportunities. So I just wanted to say that kind of bothered me, because I love this school and I want to see us provide the best possible education we can. And I think it's doable. We just have to have the commitment to make this happen with financial funding. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And then finally, speaking of educational achievement, I remember our police chief, when she was on the force, told me about finishing her 4-year degree in criminal justice. And I was really, encouraging and very pleased that she was doing that. And then after she got that degree, I looked at Chief Holland at the time. I said, well, when are you going for your master's degree? And at the time she said, well, I don't know if I'm going to do that. Well, that was a few years ago, but this weekend, Chief Holland graduated with a master's degree in criminal justice. And Chief, stand up. I think we ought to give you a round of applause. Thank you. And so many of our staff have that commitment to continually improve their skills, their training, and their education. So thank you, Chief Holland. And then finally, we'll be having the community coffee with the mayor. That will be next Friday, 11 o'clock at Hudson Library. And my guest will be Michael Mathis, our zoning director and planner, who will be talking about zoning and short-term rentals. So I hope everyone can attend. So that's my report, and I'm going to now turn it over to the commissioners to give updates. I know Commissioner Steeler has one.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit 2 meetings ago about the playground initiative that's starting up. We met last week, Lester, myself, the mayor, and we met with an individual from Carolina Parks and Play, which is a company that manufactures playground equipment. And let me just start by saying that playground equipment's come a long way since the steel cage I played on as a kid. On the cage, not in the cage. But so they have a lot of, like, what's neat is they have a lot of, like, even outdoor themes. Like, not all playgrounds are pinwheel colors nowadays. It's like you can actually have like earth tone, like outdoor themed playgrounds. But anyway, that's getting a little the cart ahead of the horse. But I did want to say that the stage we're in now is having a survey done of the area around the existing playground at the rec park. And once that's done, we want to get that in an AutoCAD format, because once that's done, this company can actually like plug in individual like pieces of equipment. You can see how it all, how it all works in that area. So that's what we're working on now. Again, we had a donor step up and pledge a good bit of money. But once we get all our ducks in a row and have a plan in place, we're going to start a big fundraising effort with the county and some other organizations in the area, and we're going to hit it hard. So that's where we are right now, and we're pretty excited about it, just seeing the possibilities that are out there. And we looked at some of the work they've done in Blowing Rock and Asheville, and it's pretty impressive.
All right. And I want to express my appreciation to Commissioner Steeler with his, professional expert and his community leadership in moving this project forward. It's going to be really exciting to see it become a reality.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
at the Presbyterian Church, we have the Mullen Lecture Series, and that's named for former Mayor Mullen.
Mm-hmm.
And amazingly, the chaplain of the U.S. House of Representatives, appointed by Pelosi and reappointed by the current speaker, and the current chaplain is going to be at the Presbyterian Church on June the 18th and 19th. They should be preaching on the 18th and a talk on the 19th, and there'll be more information coming. But it's going to be worth going to.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other updates? Let's move on to the town manager's report. Mr. Ward.
Lamar and I met last week with electric consultant Lewis Davis from UTEC company to replace Kevin O'Donnell. Lamar and I both really liked Lewis. I think he brings a lot to the table from a design standpoint and a financial standpoint as well, especially with the upcoming negotiations with wholesale power coming up in the next few years. I would like to contract with him, but I would like for the board to sit down maybe next week or the week after as quickly as possible, and have him come up and introduce himself and meet the board. So I'll let you guys know what some days are that he can meet, and we'll go over that.
What's his name again, Josh?
Lewis Davis.
UTEC.
Also, the Highway 106 sidewalk, just to give an update on that. Sprinkle Surveying did the survey on the property down there with the encroachment into Shelby Place. We met yesterday, Lamar and the mayor and I, with Rick Siegel, representative for Shelby Place. We went over with him exactly where the line was at and what would be the size of the easement, what the construction of the sidewalk would be on the Shelby Place. So he is going back to talk with their board Memorial Day. And then if their board is supportive, they'll put it for a vote later this summer for the encroachment in the Shelby Place. If they approve that encroachment, then, we're on the right track to move forward with that sidewalk on that side of the road.
Okay.
Also, we talked about the Playhouse building. I've been in contact with Mosley Engineering. I think they did a study for Macon County a couple years ago. Buildings need study. I've sent pictures of the Playhouse building And they've looked at them and they're going to come up hopefully and do an evaluation at some point. They're going to be giving me an estimate on what that would be to do a full evaluation on the building and its needs. So I'll get back with you on that. We'll have to do a budget amendment whenever he gets back with me on a number for that. Also, Town Hall will be closed on Monday, May 29th for Memorial Day holiday. And I just also want to echo what the mayor said about Chief Holland's achievement of masters from Liberty University. That's great. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Josh,
Yes.
you want to introduce the public to our new town attorney?
Sure. So Bob Hagman of Pointer and Spurl is our new town attorney. He's joining us via Zoom and he will be joining us via Zoom at each meeting. So Bob, you want to say hello?
Good evening. Thank you, Josh, Mayor, Commissioners. Really enjoyed meeting all of you in person last month, and beautiful drive in the country, in the area of the country where you guys live. So yes, I look very much forward to working with you. I'd love to be able to do it in person, but a 5.5 hour drive each way every month would be a bit of a challenge.
Glad to have you with us, Bob. All right, our next item would be the consent agenda. Any comments, questions about the information contained in the consent agenda?
I move it be approved.
Okay. Second, okay. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand, signifying by saying aye. Thank you very much. Item number 9 will be the ham radio tower attachment lease. Josh Ward.
So as you recall, the board approved the tower attachment lease for the ham radio with Jim Spencer. We had to go through a 30-day public notice period. That period is up. And at this point, the board can officially approve the lease if they so choose.
So we have to reaffirm our previous approval, or does it
Yes.
just automatically happen? Doesn't automatically?
I think you have to approve it. I think the terms were agreed upon and those terms had to be advertised publicly before it could be officially approved.
Did you ask him about the estoppel certificate, Joe?
Yes, and if you want to ask him, he can
So-
give you the answer to that.
Number 30, the estoppel, what is that, Bob? I think I know what it is, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty common term in a commercial lease. It's really for the benefit of prospective purchasers
Right.
of real property, purchasers of the landlord's real property. And what it does is it obligates the tenant to certify at the time of the certification whether or not they're claiming any breach by the landlord, that the lease is in fact valid. And then the word estoppel means essentially prevents a party from taking a contrary position. So if the property is purchased from the landlord and they have received an estoppel certificate, the tenant cannot then later claim at that time that there was a breach by the landlord. It's a common provision in commercial leases. In all honesty, I doubt it will ever come into play. In the context of this lease, it would only come into play if for some reason the town chose to sell or dispose of the property where the tower is located.
Thank you.
All right.
So I move we approve the resolution releasing the property for the ham radio.
I'll second that.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 10, the Charisma Radio Corporation Tower Attachment Lease. Mr. Ward.
So this is again, the tower attachment lease for Charisma Radio that the board approved the terms of. The 30-year or the 30-day public notice has been published. And so at this point, the board so chooses, they can approve this lease.
And there was a typo in it.
There was a typo. The number had changed to 2%, but the word was actually still 3, so it's 2%. So
Just so everybody knows.
Gibby has that, and she will be amending that to 2.
Okay. Any further comments?
Mr. Mayor, one point. Last meeting, I wasn't available to be here on time, let alone medical problem, which as we get older, we have these things. But I don't believe that our request for the relocation item number 3 on page 2 was addressed, from what I understand. It was not taken out. And we have a pretty strong objection to this because it somewhat cripples the ability for somebody looking at the property, and someday it's not going to be us. 10 years from now, I can guarantee you it won't be us. From assuming this radio station and going forward with it. So I don't think that was eliminated, and I'd like to request that that be revisited if it wasn't. I don't know if it was or was not. Do you know, Josh? Was that was one of the things we wanted to address?
Are you referring to moving the antenna up?
Move it. Well, what it says is that that you all would reserve the right. No, that's talking about moving it on the site somewhere else on your property. And that's just too expensive. It's a real red flag to somebody looking at this situation. Because it's just would cost an enormous amount of money. Plus it'd be a downgrading. I understand why you wanted it in there, but in these type leases, it's not common to have that language. It's just it's a very onerous thing to be able to say, okay, you got to move it to over here and put it 10 feet off the ground, which is, I don't think that would happen, but it's possible. It's a relocation clause, Dr. Amy, on page 2.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
It sounds to me like it's on the tower though, or your equipment in one of the outbuildings if we needed to.
It's both. In other words,
Right.
it's saying that you can come and tell us that we have 30 days to get it on file, that you move your antenna from the tower to someplace on the property as well as the outbuilding.
No, someplace on the tower. Relocate
Doesn't say that. I mean, it says that you could move the tower any place.
to another location.
I mean, you could move the
tower.
antenna someplace else on your property.
No, it says relocate the antenna facilities to a location on the tower.
Well, that's going to be very
The
onerous.
outbuildings are on to another location on the property, but
Yeah.
all we would have is like we have done before, have you moved up or down as
Right,
we
but
make
that's-
room for another tenant.
What I'm telling the board is this is a very onerous thing to have in the lease, to have someone else assume it. It's not standard in communication leases to have that, moving wherever we want you to move. I mean, we've done it once. I mean, and it was very expensive, and I just don't see it happening again. I don't know why you need it. Because we're not going to move anywhere, and I don't think anything's going to change. We would certainly consider it if there was a problem, but what this is saying is you have the right, and within 30 days, it has to be filed for. It's going to make it hard for the lease to be assumed by another party. That's still in there, isn't it, John?
That's still in
Okay,
there.
that was,
And
what was one of the objections we had to the,
I see this as one thing is like if you extended the tower like we already have and a movement occurred on the tower for that purpose. But this was written by someone that is familiar with these types of leases. So I don't know why it wouldn't be in other leases.
Mayor, if I could be recognized real quick.
Yes, sir.
So Josh actually shared with me the previous lease, and I'm looking at it right now, and this is a lease dating back to 2009, also with Charisma Radio Corporation. And that lease had the identical clause as paragraph 3 in it.
but I hope council is aware that anything like this that's in a lease, somebody's looking at the property or looking at assuming the operation, it's a pretty tough. I mean, you got a lot of other rights and a lot of other things, and certainly we would cooperate. We always have. But I think it's onerous to have it in the lease for somebody else to assume. For this,
Well, you're saying you would cooperate, Chuck, but about whoever you're going to sell it to.
well, that's
We
true.
may need to
That's true.
have a way of getting them to cooperate.
Hey, you own the property.
That's
You own
why
the
it does
pro-
need to be in the
You
lease.
own the property. This is about as one-sided from where it started as it could be. I mean, we got to hop within 24 hours when you want to do something. We have to give you 48 hours, but you only give us 24 to shut it down or do something on the tower. And of course, we've always cooperated. We've been working with Hotwire on the tower. I have been. And I just think this would be something that you don't have to have. That's my request.
Thank you.
Well, I would think to protect the town, it's something that we actually need.
Okay.
This is I mean, we didn't write this. Communications person who does this type of stuff wrote it. Is that right? Not correct, Josh?
Yes, and like Bob said, it was in the previous lease as well.
It seems to me if the owner of the lease, us being the owner of the lease, I guess, but the lessee name would change, then we could certainly negotiate with the lessee at the time that they felt like it was a onerous proposition. We'll talk about it later.
Well, in other words, we still have the option
Exactly.
to do either way.
Yeah.
If we give up that option, we've given up that option.
Right.
Bob, did you just hear what Commissioner Dotson said, and would you respond or concur that that's an option to negotiate an onerous condition?
Certainly, any kind of agreement or contract, and certainly a lease, can be renegotiated by the parties at any time if there is mutual agreement. So yeah, so if I understand sort of the premise behind the question, if a prospective buyer or a purchaser came in and had an issue with the provision, if it was in fact included in the lease, you can certainly entertain amending the lease to take it out. Again, it'd be in your discretion. They would not be able to require you to do so, but any party can request an amendment to any agreement at any time. And if the parties agree to it, it can be amended.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
So I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for the Charisma Radio lease for the space on the tower.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Haynes voted in opposition. Okay. All right, the next item, number 11, EV parking station approval amendment. Josh Ward.
So I was contacted last week by Daniel Bullock of EnviroSpark. You're going to be installing the EV charging stations for the chamber. I think Kay was out of town at the time, and he called me and said that they were needing to file the paperwork to the Department of North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. And the requirement was that the chamber have either own the property or have an agreement for 5 years to locate the EV charging stations there. And then there was a third selection that within 21 days that they would have an agreement for a 5-year term for use of the parking spaces and EV charging locations. So told him he would have to obviously check the third option and let them know back so I could get it on the agenda tonight. So I think tonight you've got the verbiage that the environmental quality requests from the chamber. And again, it requests that there be approval of those locations for a minimum of 5 years from the title owner of the property.
And we're allowed to do that? It's not a rental, right?
Correct. The way I would look at it, it would be an approval within the minutes for these locations in order for them to get their rebate from the state for the
For
grant.
5 years. The approval would be in effect for 5 years.
So like what we've just gone through with the space on the tower? Because those are leases or because those are 10 years, or what's the difference? Because it's 10 years? Okay. So we're not gonna run into trouble getting it, allowing this for 5 years without a public notice and all the rest of the stuff. Gibby just said it's 10 years. It's the 10.
Yeah,
Really what they're looking for is to just have an insurance from the town that they will be used for 5 years. In other words, they're investing money in it and that's all they're.
I perfectly agree with that, and I understand that. It's just, we've just gone through the
Right.
rigmarole of leasing public property,
Right.
and there's a
Yeah, so I wrote-
administrative bureaucratic requirement.
Yeah, I wrote up a little sample letter. I talked to Daniel after I got back into town. And it's basically, it's seen as just a partnership between the town and the chamber. And, you know, the town is saying, yes, they can stay installed for 5 years so that they feel like the money they invested into it, it's $20,000.
Sure.
That it has been put to good use.
Okay.
so Bob, do you understand what's going on? The town board approved the chamber to use 2 parking spaces in 2 different locations for EV charging stations. And they got a grant to do that through North Carolina Environmental Quality. So they're just basically wanting assurance that they have an approval, you know, to use it for 5 years, the locations for 5 years.
So Josh, I'm assuming that what this entails is the location of the charging unit.
Right.
Adjacent to a parking space,
Correct.
right? So I think the legal distinction is the previous arrangements were considered a lease. I view this more as not really a lease of town property, but a license or just an agreement to allow them to remain for a 5-year period. So I think there's a little bit of difference between the 2 situations in terms of the property interest that's being provided. They sound pretty similar, but I can see a distinction that this is not subject to the 30-day notice for leases of town property that you just went through with the tower leases.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
Josh, I've got a question. When you say, check the third option, what exactly are you meaning by that?
Well, they had to know by this week, and I don't know what day it was, maybe Tuesday, they had to submit the approval for the 5 years, which, you know, the board had not done previously. I know the term was talked about, and I know the board didn't come up with a specific term. And so they were wanting assurance that they had this 5-year, you know, option. And so this third says within 21 business days of the written approval, he had to submit this, Daniel Bullock with EnviroSpark had to submit this back to the state that in 21 days they would have the agreement for 5 years. So that's what he had to select and send back to them to say, hey, give us 21 days and we'll have the approval back. And so we put it on the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Are we anticipating when you, the third checkbox on these rebate agreements, are all of those required to be agreed to? I'm specifically referring to the restricted to electric vehicle parking only.
Yes.
Yes.
We've always talked about not restricting it to electric vehicle parking only, I believe.
But Buzz, if you have those charging stations there and people who are not using it, electric vehicle parked there, it just negates the whole purpose of having the charging stations. That's, we have talked about that. We would have to have signs and restrictions saying this is only for electric vehicle parking from the beginning,
Correct.
and we would have to enforce that.
That's also why it's locations besides the electrical versus electric because they're often in places where.
Yeah, exactly. Which the chances of them being used by another vehicle are slim to none. But we've just pulled 4 parking places off of the grid, so to speak, for potential parking, even if there's no other parking places in town. I agree if there are vehicles parked there where there are gas guzzling vehicles parked in an electric parking spot and there are other parking places, then they should be able to be ticketed or towed. But to say that they're only reserved for electric vehicles only, that was not the concept, that was not the precept that I went into any of this with. As a matter of fact, I know I've spoken in the past about it not being specifically electric vehicles. So, my comment.
Okay.
And if that's something that has to be checked, then that certainly be taken into consideration in the vote.
Okay. Any further comments? Make a motion?
Well,
Yeah, I'll make a
Brian looks
motion.
like he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the Charisma I'm sorry, the EV parking station approval amendment
Okay.
For a period of 5 years.
for a period of
In all
5
these
years.
requirements.
Okay.
Road Street and Third Street.
Correct. For Oak Street and Third Street,
Grove Street and
or
Third.
both. Mhm. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye and opposed. Okay, Commissioner Dotson voted in opposition. Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Our next item will be the local water supply plan resolution. Lamar Nix.
Each year, the water treatment facility has to turn in a local water supply plan. It has to be approved by the state. And the state requires us to pass a resolution that we acknowledge that. And that's what's presented before you.
Any questions of Mr. Nix?
You already answered mine. I move we approve the resolution adopting the local water supply plan.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, it's unanimous. All right, the next item would be the water shortage response plan resolution. Lamar Nix.
Same can be said for the water shortage response plan. We're mandated to have a plan in case of water shortage. We have to turn it into the state. They have to accept it, which they did. And now they expect us to adopt a resolution to acknowledge such.
I move we adopt the resolution for water shortage response plan. Is that right?
That's correct.
I'll second that.
Have we ever used this very much?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have. We've entered level 1 more than once, where you verbally ask people to volunteer.
What was the last time we did that? How long ago was that?
I can't remember the year. Mayor, do you
It was the
remember?
last drought.
The drought year 16,
Yeah, 16.
It's been a
Oh, yeah,
while.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When they had all the
And-
wildfires.
and it works.
Somewhat.
So we don't need to tweak is what I'm saying. It's still, this is the same plan we've had for years.
It's been the same plan for many years.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. If we've used it, I want to know that it works and we don't have to tweak it.
I think it works somewhat. I mean, you're asking people to volunteer to do it. There are some areas of town that have so much invested in landscaping that can become difficult. That's when you go to the stage 2, and it becomes more enforcement.
Okay, well, and I asked Josh two questions today before the meeting. One, the fine that's in there, that's specified, correct, Josh, by the state. It's a $50 fine for each violation. And then we discussed in concert with the Public Works Director, the town manager, they will make an assessment of the situation, and then we would issue a declaration through the mayor saying that we're under these drought conditions. And we do that also with when there's fire danger. Similar thing where we notify the public that we're in a different condition.
I had to do this a few times in my career and always found the public was wanted to cooperate and assist, and you would dramatically, you'd see
Right.
start to recover.
Well, I know we haven't used it a lot, but I know this plan, I voted on this plan many, many years, and I just want to make sure that we don't have to modify it because it does work.
We've only had to do level 1 so far. I have seen it get to the point. You had asked how we measured that flow
Yeah,
and I explained how we've seen it
get close.
get down there.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further questions? If not, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. That's unanimous.
I need to tell you one more thing in reference to the water treatment plant. In January, in the collection cycle of samples, one was accidentally omitted. They made a mistake. Did not collect the TOC sample, total organic compounds. It did not get collected, so the state has advised us that we will have to serve public notice that we failed to collect the sample for that window. The sample has since been collected, and as usual, it's not a quality problem, but I was just, they forgot to get it.
Okay.
But since then, it's been collected. It's not an issue. They just forgot the sample.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Lamar. All right. The item 14, surplus of expired fire department turnout gear. Chief Gearhart.
As you have there in your packet, we're regulated by NFPA on our gear, and the limit is 10 months and then it expires. So we've got 12 to 15 sets that we would like to send down to the Dominican Republic and let them use that gear for their,
10 years. 10 years.
You said months.
sorry, years.
I just don't want it to get recorded that we're
gosh.
turning this stuff
No,
over
I'm
every
sorry.
10 months.
10 years.
Okay.
Yes. So we've got about 12 to 15 sets we'd like to send down there to let those guys use.
Move to
They are
approve,
not regulated by the NFPA, so.
move to approve,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we've got do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Just
Chief,
an
go ahead.
update also, we have 14 applications in for our positions.
Great.
Ooh,
Next Wednesday, we will start the physical agility test and hopefully have that completed Wednesday evening. So
Okay,
then we'll move to the interview process from there.
okay. Thank you, Chief.
So we may or may not get them this fiscal year. Probably not. Yeah.
Okay, our next item will be budget amendments. Rebecca Schuler.
Couple budget amendments that need to be done this month. The lead and copper inventory, which Josh explained to you at the last budget meeting, that is pushed down by the state, so, or federals, by the federal. So we're gonna have to have it done. And Lamar talked to WK Dixon and they gave us a quote of 80,000 to get us started. And then we'll go from there, see what we have to do after that. So that's what you've got right in front of you, the $80,000 for the copper and lead inventory. And then the electric true up, we talked about the $500,000. And this is the one of 6 payments that'll actually come out in June of this year for 83.5.
Okay,
So in the water comment, this is for the inventory, but doesn't have any remediation. Is that what you're talking about? If WK Dixon finds something, we may have more.
If they find stuff, we may end up having to replace it.
They'll create a plan on how to correct during their inventory.
And let me ask a further thing. Is this a part of that program that we've been doing where people that have copper pipes with possible lead solder we've been testing for years? This is just for our system, our side, right? Okay.
So I move we approve, you want them separately or?
It doesn't matter. You can do them together.
Let's do it separately.
Do it
Okay,
separately.
I move we approve the a budget amendment for the water department for the lead and copper inventory.
Second.
Second. Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. Now the electric true up.
Okay, I move we approve the electric true up for the month of June for our first installment payment of $83,500 for Duke.
Okay,
I'll second that.
second. Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you.
Rebecca. All right, the next item would be the addition to the agenda, the Poplar Street waterline replacement resolution. Josh Ward, would you please explain the situation for
So
us?
basically, we've been dealing for 2 years with this, the funding that we got $100,000 through the state budget 2 years ago. We're going to use it to upgrade the water line on Poplar Street, put fire protection down Poplar Street. It has been a long drawn out process dealing with the red tape. The project received bids a couple months ago. Stillwell Enterprises was the low bid that was received, $168,446.20. So this resolution would award them as low bidder the project so that we can move forward with hopefully starting this soon.
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
second.
So we got 100,000 grant for
Yes,
this. So we would be on 68,000. Have you put that in next year's budget?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's taken so long. Our initial was 125, I think, Lamar, and it's ended up where it's at now, but it's taken 2 years to get to this point.
And,
It's just like money.
and we've done an approval process on this project and this grant
Yes.
before.
Right.
And we didn't realize that they make you jump
It's
through
approval to
this.
accept the funds, and now it's approval to award the bid.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
that's, you'll see that with like Dog Mountain as well, once we ever get to that point.
I'm just making sure the 68,000 is in next year's budget. It's the balance of the bid.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please raise your hand again by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you, Josh. Now, the last item will be the presentation of the 2023 and 24 town budget. And I'm going to turn that over to Josh Ward. And before I do that, let me express my thanks and on behalf of the board, Josh, for you and your staff, all the work that y'all do in getting us ready for a new budget. I know that takes a lot of time and a lot of diligence, and we appreciate what you, Rebecca, and all the staff do.
And also, I'd like to thank the board because it takes a lot of time to have these meetings and putting everything together.
Yes.
But Mayor Patrick Taylor and Town Board of Commissioners, I'm pleased to present the fiscal year 2023-24 budget for your review and consideration. As required by the general statutes of North Carolina, the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, the revenues and expenditures presented within this budget are balanced. In order to present a balanced budget, it was necessary to appropriate $2,098,020 from the undesignated general fund balance, $802,930 from the water fund balance, $4,246,512 from the sewer fund balance, $439,550 from the sanitation fund balance, and $1,664,138 from the electric fund balance. These fund balance appropriations were used to offset capital projects deficits and debt service within several departments. All funds are self-supporting and require no fund balance appropriations to operate, with the exception of the sanitation department where there is a $164,550 shortfall. The current general fund balance is approximately $5 million. The current general fund reserve is approximately $5 million, and the current electorate reserve fund is approximately $6,675,000. Budget highlights as presented, the overall fiscal year 2023-24 budget has revenues and expenditures totaling $32,011,478. North Carolina General Statute 15911E requires each government unit to publish with the budget a statement of revenue neutral property tax rate after each year in which a general reappraisal of real property is conducted. The revenue neutral property tax rate is the rate that is estimated to produce revenue for the next fiscal year equal to the revenue that would have been produced for the next fiscal year by the current tax rate if no reappraisal had occurred. The town of Highlands' current tax rate is 15.16 cents per $100 valuation. The new Macon County tax values for fiscal year 2023-24 are $2,750,001,476 after appeals. In order to determine the revenue neutral tax rate, General Statute 15911E provides that a growth factor be used in calculating the rate based upon the average increase of the tax base due to improvements since the last general reappraisal. Since the town of Highlands growth rate is calculated at 0.48% average, the revenue neutral tax rate is 10.22 cents per $100 valuation. The budget was prepared using the revenue neutral rate. The ad valorem property tax rate is 10.22 cents per $100 valuation. The tax rate does include a 1.5 cent earmark for street paving projects, which is scheduled to sunset June 30th of 2023. With the continued need for resurfacing town streets, repairing and adding new sidewalks, the amount is again figured into the tax rate for the upcoming fiscal year, but will be reviewed on an annual basis. The valuations are determined by the Macon and Jackson County tax departments. The rate is based on the overall valuation of $2,844,340,796 and an estimated collection rate of 98%. The Highlands Fire Department tax rate changes from 3 cents to 1.91 cent per $100 valuation to remain revenue neutral after the revaluations. The rate is based on the approximate valuation of $5,817 million and an estimated collection rate of 99.62%. The current town of Highlands charges for water, sewer, electric, and sanitation services remain unchanged. The town of Highlands utility disconnect fee increases from $75 to $150. After hour service fees are $150 for water and $200 for electric to cover the town's cost. The local option sales tax distribution is projected to remain strong. The proposed budget includes a 5% cost of living adjustment for employees. The proposed budget includes a 4.5% increase in employee health insurance premiums with Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. The capital expenditures included in the budget total $8,389,700, of which $3,192,200 is due to carryover from fiscal year 2022-23, due mainly to supply chain shortages. Total expenditures for all funds are split between the individual funds as follows. General fund, $7,916,298. General fund capital funds balance, $0. Scholarship fund, $62,500. Fire department fund, $2,285,000. Fireman's relief fund, $30,000. Cemetery fund, $63,000. Water enterprise fund, $2,468,430. Sewer enterprise fund, $4,996,512. Capital projects fund, $4,295,550. Sanitation enterprise fund, $1,192,550. Electric enterprise fund, $8,701,638. Total expenditures, $32,011,478. General fund, the total expenditures for fiscal year 2023-24 general fund budget is $7,916,298. These funds are split between the individual departments and funds as follows. Governing body, $31,500. Administration, $1,671,098. Planning and zoning, $158,400. MISGIS, $638,900. MISGIS fiber, zero. Police department, $1,870,100. Street department, $1,852,700. Public buildings, $603,600. Parks and recreation, $676,400. Recreation pool, $368,400. Recreation ice rink, $45,200. Total expenditures, $7,916,298. Enterprise funds, the town of Highlands operates the following enterprise funds: water, sewer, sanitation, and electric. Water fund, total expenditures for the fiscal year 2023-24 water enterprise fund are $2,468,430. The total capital within the water enterprise fund is $557,500, which includes water booster pump generators, water treatment plant tank cleanings, pump rebuilds, and covering the bleach tank. The current town of Highlands water rates remain unchanged. Sewer fund, the total expenditures for fiscal year 2023-24 sewer enterprise fund are $4,996,512. The total capital within the sewer enterprise fund is $85,000, which includes wastewater treatment plant, tank cleaning, and blower motor driver replacement. The current town of Highlands sewer rates remain unchanged. Electric fund, total expenditure for the fiscal year 2023-24 electric enterprise fund are $8,701,638. The total capital within the electric enterprise fund is $1,455,000, including 2 new bucket trucks, one of which is carryover from fiscal year 2021-22, a pole replacement project, contract tree trimming, and a comprehensive electric study. The current town of Highlands electric rates remain unchanged. With that being said, due to the extremely high cost of natural gas in calendar year 2022, the town's true up with Duke Energy requires the town to pay $500,000. The payments will be paid to Duke Energy over a 6-month period and will be included on the monthly bill the town receives for wholesale power. The first payment will be paid within fiscal year 2022-23, and the remaining payments will be paid over the first 5 months of fiscal year 2023-24. Sanitation fund, total expenditures for fiscal year 2023-24 sanitation enterprise fund are $1,192,550. The sanitation fund will require $439,550 transfer from the sanitation fund balance to purchase a replacement rear loader truck, $275,000, and $164,550 to cover the operations in fiscal year 2023-24. The current town of Highlands minimum charges for residential and commercial trash pickup remains unchanged. With that being said, after several consecutive years of operational deficits, I recommend reviewing the option of transferring the sanitation department into the general fund for fiscal year 2024-25. Special revenue funds, fiscal year 2023-24 budget includes the following special revenue funds: fire department and capital projects. Fire department fund, the total expenditures for fiscal year 2023-24 fire department fund are $2,285,000. The total capital for the fire department is $528,000 for a new pumper tanker truck, which is carryover from fiscal year 2022-23. The total debt service for the department is $636,000, which is the loan payment for the construction of the new main station. The budget also includes 6 full-time firemen that was previously approved by the Town Board of Commissioners. The Highlands Fire Department provides service to the town of Highlands and portions of unincorporated areas of Macon and Jackson counties. The revenue for the fire department is generated 100% through the fire district ad valorem property tax. The fire department tax rate is 1.91 cents per $100 valuation. Capital Projects Fund, the total expenditures for fiscal year 2023-24 capital projects fund are $4,295,550 and includes the following fund balance transfers. General fund, $15,698. Water fund, $2,712,885. And the sewer fund, $1,566,967. These funds are allocated to pay for debt service in the following. Kelsey Hutchison Founders Park Stormwater Project, $15,698. Lake Sequoia Water Intake Project, $20,685. Mirror Lake Sewer Project, $56,967. These funds are allocated to cover the carryover cost from fiscal year 2022-23 construction projects, including water treatment plant high service pump replacement project, $8,500. Arnold Road Pump Station Rehab, $169,000. Gibson Street Water and Sewer, $578,000. Wastewater Treatment Plant Belt Press Replacement, $830,000. Carolina Way Sewer Line Replacement, $222,000. Dog Mountain Water Line Replacement Engineering Report, $50,000. Poplar Street Water Line Replacement, $170,200. Phase 1 water meter replacement, $322,539.58. These funds are allocated to new construction projects, including phase 2 of the water meter replacement project, $449,960.42. Hummingbird Lane water line replacement, $122,000. Melrose Drive water line replacement, $90,000. Blackrock Circle water line replacement, $250,000. Buttermilk Lane service line replacement, $40,000. Water treatment plant caustic tank replacement, $695,000. Pre-clarifier storage tank design and engineering, $205,000. Financial outlook, the town of Highlands remains strong. The town's undesignated general fund balance and reserves remain strong. With the exception of the sanitation department, all enterprise funds are stable and covering their operating costs. Closing comments, I'd like to thank Mayor Taylor and the town board for their guidance and working with staff during the budget development process. I would also like to commend the finance director and the department heads for the diligent work they put into the budget in order to ensure sufficient funding in the areas needed. In closing, I look forward to implementing this budget, and I hope that we continue to achieve our priorities and goals of providing quality public services to the community.
Josh, you want to address the item on 141, the budget ordinance resolution, the origins of that?
Yeah, so you have in your packet as well the budget ordinance, which is the official, it will be adopted in June. If you see, the format is changed slightly and there'll be more added to this for the June meeting. This is at request of our new auditors, the format for the budget ordinance. So again, it looks a little different into a more resolution here, and there'll be some other things to follow that'll be attached, including our fee schedule in June.
Mm-hmm. And also, let me just throw these concepts open. This budget, the way you've got it balanced and proposed now, by the next meeting, there might be some adjustments based on the carryovers that can be taken off of the list and completions. And then also I'd like for you to address how, with the ongoing appeals of the reappraisals, have we been able to come up with a formula that we think will keep us within that net revenue neutral zone?
Well, as far as addressing that, there was initial reviews that were already addressed by the county. And then there was a number of appeals to the Board of Equalization, which will take into August. So we had some leeway there that we were conservative on what those, reductions will be in order to make sure that we have the money that we need in the budget. So that's how we come up with that number, and working with Macon County as well. They've been supplying the numbers for us and how those appeals go. Also, as you said, we've got a number of carryover capital projects that are starting to come to an end. Those invoices will be coming in between now and our June meeting. Rebecca will be putting together those into the spreadsheets. And so the number that you see here tonight that's presented will definitely be reduced because we've got the belt press. Hopefully will be coming online in the next couple of weeks. Lamar and I were down there yesterday. They're finishing up the last few items down there. Hopefully again in the next 2 weeks, that'll be coming online. If we do get all the invoices together and paid, then that will come off. I know Carolina Way sewer line is, if not finished, almost finished. It's finished. So it's now finished. So we'll be getting those invoices. So a lot of those are trickling in, and those will be removed from the budget, and you'll see that reflected in the budget that's presented to you for approval in June.
Okay. All right. What other questions do you have of Josh? If we have no questions, then I guess our next step would be a motion to set a public hearing for June for the adoption of the new budget.
I'll move, we set a public hearing for the budget adoption, and what's the date on that? Then? It would
June
be
15th.
The
June
June
15th.
Mhm. Second. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. All right. That brings us to the end of the agenda.
I hope we adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Good evening.
So, yeah, so I think you might talk to her. We've been in contact.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Disconnect between her